Hey, it's Rob, and I'm popping on here because I've just got a little quick story to share with you. I think it's interesting. I have a slight personal connection to this, and let's get into it right now. The inspiration for Prince's 1999, where did it come from? Why did he pick that year versus some other year or whatever? Well, I'll tell you the story because it's something that I read recently, and like I said, I can show you actually the example of where that year 1999 came from, and it came from a movie. It came from a movie called The Man Who Saw Tomorrow. Came out in 1981, and it was a movie about this guy, Nostradamus, and all of his prophecies for the future. If you don't know Nostradamus, he's a 15th century astrologer, basically, and he had a lot of other things that he was into, but basically he's famous for writing a book that contains all these quatrains, these verses, where he prophesies future events that were in the distant future. And some people, and you really have to kind of interpret them in your own way, they're kind of open for that type of interpretation, but some people believe he accurately predicted things like World War II and Kennedy's assassination, and that he even predicted somebody named Hister who would come to power. Of course, that would be Hitler. So who knows? Some people say, say there's not much to it, and some people say, he really had a gift or whatever for predicting the future. Be that as it may, this movie came out in 1981, The Man Who Saw Tomorrow, narrated by Orson Welles. And when Prince was touring for Dirty Mind, I think, that year, they were on the road. They stopped at a motel, and the motel had HBO. Now, back then, you didn't have cable with 450 channels or whatever. You had the regular over-the-air channels that you got with the rabbit ears antennas, and if you were lucky, they had a little box or something, and you could switch over, and you would get something like HBO. A cable channel, one channel. And of course, if you went to a motel, a lot of motels wouldn't have that. So if they had HBO, you're probably going to watch HBO that night because it's kind of a unique, special thing that you can't get everywhere else. And in fact, so the band checked into this hotel or motel, whatever it was, for the night and went to their separate rooms, and they all turned on HBO because, hey, this place has HBO. HBO that night was showing this 1981 movie, The Man Who Saw Tomorrow, which was the prophecies of Nostradamus and all the things he predicted in the future. I have a copy of it on VHS, and I wish I could dig it up for you, but not really sure where it went. Anyway, it's around here somewhere, and I've seen it. It's kind of a boring movie. It's really over the top, and the narration is very dramatic and whatever, but it says he predicts all these things that are going to happen and the date the world's going to end and all that kind of stuff. Now, for some reason, when I was in high school, I guess it must have been in maybe ninth grade, something like that, they showed us this movie one day. I don't know what class it would have been or why it would have been appropriate to show the entire class this movie about these predictions this guy made, whatever, 500 years ago. But it must have been pretty impressionable because I remember seeing this movie, the same movie that Prince saw that night and everybody else, and I was just like blown away by it. I just thought, oh my God, this guy knows everything, and he knows when the world's gonna end, and these wars, and World War III is gonna start. And I don't know. A couple hours after, I just couldn't get this movie out of my mind, and it was like just made a big impression on me. That's why I remember it to this day, 40 plus years later. So anyway, the story is, and I'll finish it up. They went to the motel. They watched HBO. That night they were showing that movie. So pretty much everyone in the band on their own just happened to watch this movie. They get up the next morning. They're at breakfast. And they start talking. And they said, hey, I saw this movie last night. Oh, I watched that movie. Yeah, I watched. So they all had individually watched this movie, The Man That Saw Tomorrow. And they were talking about it, and, wow, it was, whatever, really, interesting, exciting, whatever it was, all these predictions about the future and the things he said. And then I think Prince came down. He was the last one to come down to breakfast and heard them talking about it. And they asked him if he watched it. And he said, yeah, he said, and I wrote a song about it. So while they were all laying in bed, just watching the movie, not thinking much about anything, he actually was motivated after seeing this certain scene to write the entire song 1999. And that's pretty much the origin of it. I'll play the little clip now. It's a big build-up for a clip that's like 15 seconds long, but this is the clip where Orson Welles, the narrator, mentions the year 1999, and this was pretty much the origin story for Prince's 1999.
Foresee Soviet nuclear capacity combining with Islamic manpower to wage war by 1999.